Hello again. Welcome to day number 5. I hope you've had a great week so far. We're now into the second half of our 8 days. I just want to encourage you to read the book and connect with your coach each day. Doing these 3 steps, reading the book, talking to your coach, and watching this video will help you stay on track and stay motivated. Today's teaching is all about staying humble and realizing that we can't do this without God at our side. It's one of the most important things that I've learned about being a Christian. Well, it's time to get to the teaching, and I'll talk to you again in a few minutes.
Well, hello and welcome to day 5 and step 5 of your new life. You have taken a great step to follow God, and now you're living that out with these 8 steps to a brand new life. Our first step was to wake up. Our second step was to get up. Our third step was to go home. The fourth step was to get hugged. And I hope you're still thinking about seeing God in a new light. But today, I want to talk about what the prodigal did after the father embraced him. Right after the father received him and hugged him and kissed him, the Bible says the son responded by saying, Lord, Father, I am not worthy to be your son. I'd rather be a hired hand than to not be here at all, and I know I'm not worthy to be your son. And that's maybe a strange response for somebody who's just been embraced by his father, but I believe it represents a necessary step that we take in our journey toward a new life, and I call this step, stay humble. Now, what do we mean by being humble? Does it mean staying in the pig pen? Does it mean getting trampled on? No. Being humble means recognizing who you are not. So I call this step, realize who you are not without God. Not just on day 5, not just on day 1, not just in the beginning, but throughout your life. I pray that you will realize who you are not without God, because the first moment you think you can do it without God and that you are somebody, whether it's today, whether it's a year from now, 20 years from now, the first moment you think that is your opening to disaster. It's your first step toward going back into the self-sufficiency of believing that, man, I can take care of my own life. I can rule my own life. No, we can't. We have been flawed by sin. And because of the presence of sin in our life, we're incapable of accomplishing our destiny on this earth by ourselves. And so I just exhort you today, realize who you are not. Every day when you get up, say, Lord, in my own self, I am not worthy to be called your child. But we know that because of the grace of God, we do stand worthy. We do stand in the grace that He has provided for us. But never stop realizing who you are not without God. Because if you stay humble, the Bible says God will continue to exalt you. He exalts and promotes those who humble themselves. We want to be a humble Christian, a humble child of God, not mired in the pig pen, but we want to be a humble child by realizing who we are not without God. Talk to your coach about this. He or she will give you some more pointers along these lines, but this is an important step in the journey, not just on day 5, but every day. Realize who you are not without the presence of God.
One obstacle a lot of people face is that they think they won't be able to live up or they won't be good enough for God. First of all, that's something that not only new Christians struggle with, but everybody struggles with this to some degree. It's in our human nature to think we have to live up to God's expectation in order to keep our relationship with Him. I've been a Christian practically my whole life, and I still wake up some days wondering where I stand with God. Like, how am I doing on the living right scale? I want to tell you some good news that will free you up from that thinking. You and I will never be good enough to live up to God. We in our human nature are just sinners controlled by our thoughts and emotions, and will never be able to live the way God has called us to live by ourselves. But here's even more good news. God never asked you to live His way without Him. The whole plan is that you would have God living inside of you when you're making decisions and living your life. And when He's living inside of you, you can live His way. You might have heard the popular Bible verse before, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. That's from Philippians 4:13, and it's true. You can do all things with Jesus living inside of you. It's just that you have to stay humble and remember that it's only because of Him that you can live a righteous life. Don't ever forget that. It's all about Him and what He can do, not about us and what we can do. Well, that's it for today. And as usual, make sure you connect with your coach right now, and I'll see you back here tomorrow for day number 6.